what is the more likely thing to happen to the Bears down the stretch? They go 4-4 or they go 0-8? Like, there's no middle ground here. What's more likely? They split their games the rest of the way, 4-4, 6 division games, and then they have Seattle at home and San Francisco on the road, or they lose all of them. I said, and we're split on this because I said 4-4. You say 0-8, correct? It's a tough question.
It is. I don't think they're going winless. So, so if that's my baseline, then I would have to go with 4-4 because I don't believe they're going winless.
That's how I sort of did it,
yeah.
And I think they're getting at least 2. So I don't think there's any way they're going winless.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go winless.
And I think they're going to win at least 2. So while I don't know how likely 4-4 is, I know 0-8 is pretty unlikely.
Yeah. Oh, it's the NFL. I mean, didn't the Packers lose to the Panthers last year? I mean, there have been some. The Bears just lost to the Patriots. There were probably people in New England saying the Patriots are never going to win another game. Then they go on the road to Chicago and they beat the Bears. So, yeah, I don't believe that this team's going to go winless. I also don't believe they're going to win the majority of their games going forward, but they won't go winless.
We talked about this yesterday, Tyler, on Aki's A-List. How did you vote again?
I voted 4-4.
Oh,
I voted with you, yeah. It's just because it's the NFL. We see more teams turn it around than lay completely flat like this, especially when you're a paid professional like these guys are. And like you said, it's the NFL. Like earlier this year, we saw the Raiders beat the Ravens.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's more likely to be a game like that than to see the Bears lay flat for 8 games.
I bet you could go back to last year's second half of the season and look at a good team with a number of good teams lost to bad teams.
Well, didn't the Ravens lose to both the Browns and the Raiders?
Yes, they did, yeah.
Meller, Charlie, how did you guys vote?
So you guys are laying out the reason basically why you don't think 0-8 is possible, which
right.
I understand, but at the same – the 4-4 aspect of it, which like why I brought it up yesterday, I look at this daunting schedule and I don't see a scenario with everything we've seen unfold right now, including the crisis they seem to be in up at Hallis Hall. I could much easily see a scenario where with all these tough games, teams that are really fighting for playoff spots that they're going up against, and where I think the Bears are likely to be overmatched, I can see a scenario where they end up losing out as opposed to finding their way to 4 victories on this schedule.
I think you make a good point. Look, I can't rip you for it at all.
It'll be them quitting on this head coach.
Look, you're going to get the Packers on Sunday. It's a team coming off a bye. They've had a chance to look at some stuff. Their quarterback has been playing a little bit reckless. They are very well coached. He'll clean up some of their mistakes. I think you can beat the Vikings at home. Dalton's coming back to earth. Not Dalton. Who's
Darnold?
Quarterback? Darnold is coming back to earth a little bit.
You had the D right.
I did. I'm having one of those
days,
days,
too. You had the D in your mouth.
Playing the role of Yurko right now.
Yeah. I don't see you winning the Lions game. 49ers going to be a tough trip. I think, the Vikings, again, I think that as much as I appreciate their defensive coordinator and the job that Darnold has done at times, I think they're still the weakest of the 3 other opponents in the division. I think you can get the Seahawks. And who knows what's going to be at stake in the final game of the season against the Packers. I don't know.
Do you guys, Charlie, give me your opinion, and then I'll give you the final votes here.
Yeah, I just don't see where the 4 wins would even come from. Like, I get, like, maybe the Seahawks. Yeah, exactly. Maybe the Seahawks, but one of those is against the Packers, who they just don't beat the Packers. It's just not something they do. And then they have the Lions, who, like, I know they got them last year, but are you really – I feel like the Lions are even better than they were last year. The Bears are probably in a similar spot as they were last year, so I don't think they got better. And then, I don't know, maybe the Vikings and the Seahawks are the only ones where I could build a case for it. Everyone else, like, you're kind of have to, I don't know, deny reality a little bit.
Do you guys give the Bears any chance this weekend? With the spark from a new offensive coordinator, with them losing 3 in a row, with the Packers staring them in the face. And Carmen presented that not only have they not beaten the Packers in the last 10, they have not covered in the last 10.
0-10 against the spread. They haven't beaten them since the last game of the season in 2018.
Could they shock us and wake up for this game?
I would feel that would be more likely if the Packers weren't coming off the bye. Could they? Yeah. Listen, if you watch this Packers team, they make a ton of mistakes. They drop footballs. I think they lead the league in drops. Their receivers, they get open, but they drop balls. Jordan Love's going to throw it to you every now and again unless he's completely cleaned up his game. He's a fantastic young player, but right now he's playing reckless. That defense does some good stuff, but they're not dominant. Like I fear the Vikings defense much more than I fear the Packers defense. Anything's possible. I don't think it's likely, but I also maybe you get a boost from Thomas Brown being the guy in the headset with Caleb, and there's some stuff that he can do. I watched their game against the Patriots again and kind of can think some things through where they can make some progress, but don't you sit squarely in the middle of Missouri right now? Aren't you in the show me stage?
They have to prove it to us for sure. Show me. So here's the way people are voting. They're with Charlie and Meller. 78%. This is the way I thought it would go because I don't think anyone's biting on 4-4. And things are down, but again, I just don't see them going winless. 78% of the people, of nearly 4,000 people voting on my Twitter page at Waddle and Silvy, and 22% say 4-4. So get your votes in. It's brought to you by your Chicagoland Toyota dealers. Chase on the south side. You're on ESPN 1000. What's up, Chase?
Hey, fellas, what's going on? How you guys doing? Great hearing from you guys.
We're good.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about Ryan Poles. Look, I told Carmen Yurko this. I was bringing comparison to, like, how we all wanted Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy out of here, and yet, we bring in Poles and Eberflus here, and if you look at it, we're no better now than we were when we had Pace and Nagy. Yes, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy were terrible, but we can't admit we did go to the playoffs, and we were a double doink away from making a deep playoff run. And I'll fast forward to the Bulls when we wanted Garden Pax out of here. Then what happened? We end up with AK and everything. Bulls ain't no different better than they are now. Same thing with the White Sox. It's like the problem with this team, with the talents in this team is we do more coaching regimes and more coaching changes than we do playoff wins. That's the problem right now. It's always we're changing coaches, changing regimes, but it's the same. But in fact, we know. But let's think about this. Over the last decade, we've talked more about coaching changes, GM changes, more about playoff wins and championships. That is the problem. It's been a problem with all the teams in this town, and that's the problem.
But
you can get rid of the coach and get rid of the GM, but it's like Sylvie, like you always say, it starts at the top.
It starts at the top for sure, but you can't stay the same just because you're fearful it's going to get worse. Like, you have got to find a better solution than they have found. Like, the AK, doesn't mean that Gar Pax should continue to run the Bulls. Their day was done. They ran out of solutions. They had their moment when they had a plucky team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals when Rose was healthy, but they still didn't even have solutions then. They didn't have a shooting guard. We could really go down into the weeds with it. But the point is like Lovie Smith. We always used to use the Lovie Smith comp. Lovie Smith had a good run, but he didn't have solutions at either coordinator either by the end. Mike Tice was his solution at offensive coordinator, and he was given a bunch of offensive coordinators. It was time for a new solution. They needed to get that right instead of Mark Trestman. They had Bruce Arians in the building. Yeah. That would have gotten it right, but they chose Mark Trestman. They've got to make better decisions, and that's where this organization has failed.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you say, Chase, is accurate, and there's reason for concern. The one thing I would say is I still have more belief and hope in this quarterback than I ever did in Mitch Trubisky. And some people may say that's just blind hope. I don't think it is. I've seen him play at a very high level. He's not playing at a high level right now. I'm not going to ignore that. He's been part of the problem the last 3 weeks. But at the end of the day, this is the most important position in all of professional sports. I believe he's a better player than Mitch was. And I think this kid can take you to somewhere Mitch couldn't take you eventually. Is some of that blind faith? Maybe so. But ultimately, I feel more comfortable hitching my wagon to him, despite what we've seen the last 3 weeks, than any of the quarterbacks that we've seen here in a while.